Hi, my name is Christopher Zito. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about my course, Developmental Biology. The first question that really comes to mind is, what is developmental biology? And it's really just the study of mechanisms for the development of organisms. Now, we know that it's a biological imperative that all living organisms must grow and develop, obviously to maintain the fact that they'd be living. But really what we're looking to help explain is how the structure of organisms is really going to change with time to aid in that growth and development. We know from frogs to fish to human beings, we all begin with tail-like structures. Some of those organisms, when basically born, will maintain those structures. Some won't. Obviously, human beings are not born with tail-like structures. Fish and frogs, which are essentially tadpoles when born, will maintain those tail-like structures. And at some point or another, during early life, we'll see those tadpoles actually lose those tail-like structures as well. So the question really lies, well, why study developmental biology? Well, because developmental biology is really dealing with why those changes occur in one organism versus not occurring or occurring at later points in another. Developmental is also going to tell us that animals, in the most part, including human beings, are pretty similar in their developmental patterns. Developmental biology is also going to give us a way to really learn about, monitor, and maybe even control development at one point if the science develops as it has been. So developmental biology is really going to be that simple study of taking a single cell, a zygote, moving on to further and further stages up to a blastula stage, which is just a ball of undifferentiated cells, and then eventually to an embryo, and for our case, a young infant, into an adolescent human being. So when we're talking about the basic structures of a being, we're actually talking about the development from, say, a single-cell state of a zygote to a multi-celled state of a blastula to, in human beings, the embryo, eventually an infant, and leading up to an adolescent human. The question, though, lies in the fact of, well, why are we studying developmental biology? The truth is, it has a large impact on society as a whole. For instance, in vitro fertilization. In vitro fertilization enabled previously infertile couples to be able to have children. Developmental biology was at the forefront. Once we knew how humans grew and developed from that single sperm and egg, we were able to basically mimic the coupling of that sperm and egg in a laboratory setting. Basically fertilize in vitro, or out of the body, and insert that embryo back into a human being. It also offers us an ability to understand about human embryonic development. There are particularly sensitive times, windows during which birth defects can occur, organ development occurs and can also go awry, obviously. Things like exposures to certain compounds or medications can have huge effects in these windows. As one might see, during pregnancy they're actually given a list. You're given a list not to use specific compounds, medicines, sometimes even pain relievers because of the adverse effects it might have versus the health of the child. In terms of the ideal, why we would study developmental biology, the ideal is really the future impact. We can have human genetic manipulation come out of the study of developmental biology. That is the possibility of, since we know how those humans develop, how the embryos are going to develop, and how things occur, basically, can we generate designer babies? We can also use developmental biology to branch off into the future impact of cloning and stem cells. Are we going to be able to clone a human being for basically parts? Would it be ethical to do so? Are we going to be able to use stem cells to cure some of these diseases that we've heard so much about, things like Parkinson's disease, as well as spinal cord injuries? That's also a possibility stemming from knowing of developmental biology. There are going to be ethical and legal issues that arise from these, so developmental biology is also going to run the gamut from the ethical to the legal to the political, but also into the business world. So there are wide-reaching implications on the future impact of the study in this one area. What to expect from developmental biology? Well, the course in itself is going to have a workload that's really pretty typical of any cell biology course, a little more focused. There are going to be chapter readings, responses, supplemental scientific readings, possibly scientific journal articles, focusing on discussion components, a midterm and a final exam. And the units will be presented in 2-week blocks. In terms of what to expect from the course, I really hope that everyone takes away from the course the things that they find the most interesting. We are going to cover a gamut of material in developmental biology, but there are going to be things that will actually reach out to you more than others. So I'm hoping that you really make the course your own. I'm hoping that I see you at least online in my classes. And all the best to you guys in your studies.